Club versus country. That's what we're going to be chatting about today because recently we've been chatting a lot about the Bangladesh series and we've been talking about how that is going to be running almost simultaneously with the IPL at exactly the same time. Unfortunately, South Africa is going to have the situation where some players will be playing for South Africa and some will be choosing to play for the IPL. And we want to talk about that on today's show. We want to get into it a little bit more in depth, discuss it, see how we feel as on this channel about the decision for a player to go and play for a club or even a county, for example, instead of playing for their country. Because back, I know you can't do that anymore with regards to Colpack deals, but yeah, that's a whole different ballgame altogether. I think the main thing that we need to talk about is probably the guys that are playing in the IPL. Let's just keep it um, current as possible. To all the guys out there, to all the guys that are new to this channel that haven't subscribed, just please click subscribe. Please click that notification bell for all future videos as well. Also, subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. Don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to share. And don't forget to tell every single person to also subscribe. That we are getting closer and closer and closer to that 3,000 mark. So please go ahead and do so right away. Go to cricketfanaticsmag.com as well. That's where you'll get all your updates. Now, there is a story on the site by Aditya about this particular topic, but we thought we'll flesh it out a little bit more over here. So go to cricketfanaticsmag.com. There's also a recent report on the it's my take on the 4-day competition, the final day. Titans, congratulations for winning the 4-day series title. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well on the show, give our opinions on it and the 4-day series as a whole. It's a good thing to chat about and keep up to date with cricketfanaticsmag.com. We'll probably put out a piece as well to give you guys insight into the top run scorers and the top performers and all of those type of things. Also, what you can do is you can get involved with the Patreon. The link is on the screen as well, and as well as in the description. That's how you help us improve and get better and grow because we're 100% bootstrapped. So we're gonna need your help to obviously take things forward and get better and better and better and produce more shows for you guys even and longer shows for you. If you get involved with the Patreon, it really helps us out for that. You also get access to our private WhatsApp group where you guys can have conversations with me, and the other Patreons as well, so you guys can keep up to date. Don't forget the super chat is on, and if you want to ask me any questions, get involved in the super chat as well. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's topic. We will be waiting for some guys to sign in. I'm sure they will. They do have the links, so I'll be waiting for them. But we can have a conversation until they come. So let's get straight into today's content. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid. This is my co-host, Aditya, and today we will be chatting about club versus country. Before we get started, I just want to say sorry to all of you guys and apologize because we missed the Sunday podcast last night. Something, as you go on this journey with me, you're going to realize certain things about me as a person as well that you'll probably learn about me that you don't know, things that I don't really speak about, or whatever the case may be. As we trust each other, as we grow and grow this relationship, more and more things will be uncovered about each other, probably, as well as about myself. So this is maybe good for the future for me to maybe tell you guys this, of course. So since a kid, I've been suffering from migraines. Since a young kid already, I went to the doctor. It wasn't much they could really do to help me out. So it happened suddenly out of the blue. No reason for it whatsoever. The doctors just told me that I need to stay in a dark room, close all the curtains, all of those type of things, small little light, etc. will make it even more so, and turn me into like a a vegetable almost, because I can't move, I can't talk. I mean, in some cases, there has been times before where I've passed out from the pain. So this has been that bad. So when I feel it coming, I can kind of feel it coming. I've had it enough times to know now when it's going to come on. So I sent Aditya a little warning. And I mean, for me, that on a Manchester City derby, a Man United derby, I mean, I had to miss that match too because of it. So I sent Aditya a little warning to let him know that it's coming. It's very difficult for me to like explain it, because I know some people will look at me and they'll be like, "Oh, it's just a headache." But I'll be like, "Look here, I know it's coming. What's gonna happen later on?" So like, yeah, I mean, definitely can't drive with it. I mean, there was an incident when I went with one of my friends and one of the guys on the channel side. We went to Paul, and we went with my car. I drove, and I was supposed to drive back as well. And I got a migraine in Paul, and I couldn't I couldn't drive back, so I had to drive me home. So like it was a hectic situation because I can't drive with it either. So it is quite tricky. So I apologize for missing the podcast show. We will make it up to you somehow. Just stay tuned to us, and we'll continue doing the show. So we'll make it maybe go a little bit longer on today, seeing that we did miss last night's show. But Aditya, welcome. That's after my long ass intro. Um, let's talk about this particular topic. First and foremost, we know it's inspired. This show is inspired by your article that we put up earlier on this on the site. I just want to ask you first and foremost, what made you talk about this topic? How did you land on this particular topic to write about?
I read some material on this topic, and I felt like a lot of the media narrative around the South Africa Bangladesh series and the IPL was billed as this country versus club litmus test for players, and I thought that's quite unfair. Because these players, they registered for an auction and they were picked up by teams. For them to be in an uncomfortable position where they have to choose, and it's not an easy decision because there are consequences on both sides of the spectrum. I just felt like someone's gonna say that this is an extremely complicated situation, and a lot of the media narrative doesn't really talk about it. It's quite simplistic in the way that this entire issue has been discussed. And I feel like it's not fair on the players. If Kakiso Rabada chooses to play the IPL and not the Bangladesh series, I don't want there to be like this massive hue and cry on Twitter and in the media, criticizing him for putting money first. I don't think it's as easy as that, or it's as simple as that. These matters are complicated, and it certainly warrants a discussion. So I'm very glad that we're doing this show.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, my opinion, maybe it will change as the show goes along, because that's the point of having discussions in the first place. Otherwise, if it was just my opinion and Aditya's opinion, what does it matter? Our opinions can change, and that's the amazing things about. That's the great thing about having discussions and having opinions, etc. Because it can change. You can learn new things on the discovery. So obviously, Dean Alger's comments. Um, it obviously added to the fire of the or to the added fuel to the fire of this situation, and obviously it put highlights on this. But we were talking about this before Dean Alga actually made this comments already. We were already speaking about this possibly happening, and it was a fear of mine, because I was like, for me, it's country always first, no matter how much money they give you. It's almost like this loyalty type of vibe I have. Like it's like you'll never get with your friend's ex or someone that is close to him. Like you never do that. Like this is the same situation over here. I feel you don't you don't trade money just for your. I mean, a country should come first always, no matter how much you are getting paid. I mean, what does a country that is not that is even has less than South Africa? So, say for example, it was a Zimbabwe player that maybe doesn't pay the player as much, and he gets an IPL contract. I'm just saying, for example. I mean, surely if it's a massive game for Zimbabwe who really need their star players, he plays for his country. So I feel South Africa at the moment in Test cricket can't afford to lose their stars. We are in that situation. We need to have our best team to win games. Unfortunately, to win series, actually, it's more important to win series than I'm talking about win a game. And we shouldn't have we shouldn't be in a situation currently where players should be allowed to choose. I feel because we can't afford to lose players um, to anything and put an opportunity like winning a test series against Bangladesh, which has got implementations or implications with regards to um, us winning a test championship. Um, I mean, that should clearly be the goal based on this, the way they're selecting teams, etc. That should clearly be the goal that they're trying to win the tournament. So we can't afford to not pick our best 11 currently, especially if people are, I mean, as a fan base that constantly complains about quota and saying, oh, that's unfair and all of that stuff, and that quota is letting us, bringing us down. Imagine how much further down this would bring us, losing your best players on top of that, if you think that quota is even is bringing us down, which I clearly don't think so because we've been winning with the whole quota system in place. So, yeah, to me, it's country first always. Um, That's how I currently feel, especially when there's important games happening that you need to win. Unfortunately, South Africa are in that situation where I think it's necessary for them to have the best 11 at all times. But Aditya, um, your views on this?
Look, first of all, it's
Reverse.
complicated.
Like say now we are the MS. Okay, but it doesn't happen to you in
Yeah.
reverse. You don't play in any other leagues.
Right. Okay, so here's the thing. Um, in an ideal scenario, it would be great to have all your top players playing test cricket in an ideal scenario, right? But given given the scheduling difficulties, it's very difficult situation. Okay, now what happens here is that let's examine both scenarios. Okay, and let's take Kakiso Rabada's example because he went for $925,000 to the Punjab Kings, right? Okay, from a financial point of view, that is about 6 times more than he gets paid for South Africa per year, and it's 6 weeks of cricket for him. Okay, that's factor number one. Okay, and that's very hard to ignore, given that cricketer has a short shelf life, and particularly a fast bowler. Secondly, let's say he chooses the IPL over the Test series. He will be massively trolled in South Africa. You know that. There'll be plenty of criticism coming his way, and obviously internally within the team, we don't know what the response will be, given that Elgar has already made that statement. Okay, so from that sense, we know that there will be a certain degree of hostility if Kakiso chooses the IPL. Now, let's say he misses out on like the first 5 games of the IPL, okay, and he chooses the Test series with Bangladesh. The IPL franchise, the Punjab Kings, are going to feel like they've paid close to $1 million for this bowler. Their entire bowling unit revolves around this guy. And if they end up losing the majority of the games that KG misses out on, that could potentially hurt their chances of winning the tournament.
Shame.
And and that's going to hurt, and that's going to hurt KG's chances of getting picked again in the IPL, because in the following year or 2 years after that, a franchise is going to think that should I really go after KG? Because if there is a serious clash, he's probably not going to play for the franchise. That's going to hurt the team, and we might as well go with someone else.
So I would
So
rather urge to prevent us from fighting and arguing here, Aditya, because it's probably it might get into that because I don't care about the IPL to be fair and about those clubs because ultimately that's the risk you take. Like in football, it's reversed because you play for your club. Now your club is your main home stay. It's almost like playing for your. You can't say it's almost like playing for your country, but it's playing for your like your a club is all year round. You play majority of your games for your country. They pay your wages. They pay for you to play all of those type of things. You go on international duty. It doesn't matter what happens. You go on international duty. If you get injured on international duty, shame. It's just a risk that you took. And that's just the case by buying that player, whatever the case may be. So for the IPL, um, that's a risk you have to take as an IPL franchise or
the franchise doesn't care. There are 2,000 players who've signed up for the IPL. They can pick whoever they want to. So it's not the franchise's loss; it's KG's loss. And so the person who's got to
from a
evaluate that risk
monetary
is.
value point of view.
But it doesn't.
Also,
Look,
Punjab Kings lose on a lot of money, but
no, they don't. Because see, what will happen is that if KG pulls out officially for the entire season, then that's the amount of money they have to find a replacement. So the franchise doesn't have a problem at all. They have plenty of players to pick from.
Mhm.
The person, the individual who has to make that decision is KG. It's KG who loses out the most, and he doesn't lose out on he doesn't lose out on one IPL contract or 1 year of the IPL. He could potentially lose out on 3, 4, 5 years of the IPL because franchises are not going to forget that KG picked a test series. One team formulated the bowling plans around this guy, and it's possible that he may not work out for us either. So the franchises don't care. They have plenty of players to choose
Yeah,
from. The
but they should
individual
take it
who's
into consideration. It's your
yes, so
country,
no, they won't take that into consideration.
but they should.
See, but they're paying the $1 million. They're paying 6 times more than Cricket South Africa is. So they have every right to ensure that they get the most out of that. They get their money's worth. But the individual who has to make that really tough decision is KG. And the question and it's up to him whether he wants to play a test series against a team that they know are going to lose to South Africa, irrespective of whether he plays or not, or should he go to the IPL and make
Mm,
6 times the money?
I don't think it's to me. If I was KG, I'll pick my country. For the future. It's better for you. Like I mean, just think about it for money. You're going to go play for an IPL just because you want to make a couple of bucks, which you can make at the end of his career anyway. Like I'm sure the IPL will still be interested in Rabada when he's 30, 35, 36, 32, 33. When
It
he's
doesn't it doesn't work out that way.
if he's still bringing something to the game and he's still an asset to the game and he's really is such an asset, then they'll pay for him.
But look at what happened to Dale Steyn. Dale Steyn, he got to a position where he played 48 test matches on the trot, possibly the only fast bowler to do that. Then he started getting his injuries. And then the IPL deals were not easy to come by. KG Rabada, he's what, I think he's 26, 27. He's
Yeah.
around that, right? He's 26 or 27.
Yeah, something like that.
And in every press conference that he comes to, he says it's very rare for a bowler to feel 100%. He just said it in the last presser that he did. He just said it. That it's very rare for a fast bowler to feel 100%. So at the age of 30 or 32 or 33, when the injuries start showing up, and I hope that they don't, it's our franchise is really going to be difficult. No, they're going to be like, come be our mentor, but we'll find some players.
So then does it work differently for a batter and a bowler then?
Yeah, it does. It
Okay,
does
so
because
then
the workload.
our batters need to stay because our batting is shit.
Yes.
So
So see, that's a separate question, right? Because a bowler's shelf life in cricket has always been less than a batter's shelf life. Like Faf du Plessis, like he's still showing up at 37, 38, scoring 600 runs in the IPL, and he's got that fitness, but he doesn't bowl. In fact, he quit leg spin bowling just so that he could, prolong his career and bat, which was his primary strength. But it doesn't work
still
like
does.
that with it doesn't work like that with bowlers, man. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. Dale Steyn is the
Okay.
example right there.
Okay. Cool. Whatever. I don't care. I still pick my country. I'm sorry. I honestly
That,
don't care. Like I don't care how much extra they're gonna give me. If it's gonna cost me some money, maybe I don't know how much it will at all. I don't care. I can't, because for me the reason you play is to play for your country. That's the reason you play cricket. That's the reason you start cricket. That's the aim. If that's not the aim, then what's the point of playing? In my eyes, that's everybody's dream. So you have the privilege to be able to play for your country, and you're gonna pick it because you're going to play a couple of T20 games for fun, because ultimately that's what it is, to make money. There's
I mean,
no there's no meaning to it from a South African point of view. There's no meaning to it from a significance perspective from a South African to go play. The only reason they're going there is to play, is to make some extra bucks.
oh, sorry, just answer this one question in the comment here by Darren Elfield. The IPL should pay country boards to release players. That's
Uh-huh.
been done since the inception of the IPL. I mean, players like KG gets $925,000. A percentage of that goes to Cricket South Africa because they're signing an NOC for him to go to the IPL. So when KG decides to go to the IPL, it actually benefits Cricket South Africa, as does uh, if Glenn Maxwell makes $2 million, Cricket Australia benefits from it. So if we're having this country versus club debate, but basically monetarily, Cricket South Africa benefits
Yeah,
if its players choose the
and
IPL.
I get that, but that money that they're gonna make from that, um, is not as important as us winning games right now. And
Look,
unfortunately, from South Africa's point of view, I'm just looking at it from a South African point of view and a South African fan point of view. I don't want my players to go to the IPL if it's going to cost us. If we lose to Bangladesh, you know what? An uproar is going to happen here. And now you are talking about players that can still play another 5, 6 years for the country. Some of them even 10 years for the country, and they leaving to go play for money, and then we lose a test match. Like, that's going to cause a big, massive uproar. But on the flips, so for example, if this was Australia or England, like, I mean, if you were playing Australia or England right now, or England right now, at this in this particular match, are they still going to go to the IPL to pick, or is it just because it's Bangladesh, for example? So my interpretation of that is that don't underestimate anybody, especially when we're playing on spinning wickets. So I
yeah,
think there needs to be a proper strategy session with the coach and the players. If the coach says to them, "Look here, guys, I really need you. I really, really need you. Can you please stay and not go?" And then they still go, I don't know how I'll feel about that. But I think what the coach needs to do is to conversate with them, and talk to them about it and analyze the situation, because maybe one seamer can go. Maybe, for example, KG can go. Maybe Andrich can go. Maybe one of them can, because we need an extra spinner, maybe, for example. I mean, now we're going to maybe play one seamer light. Maybe Lungi can go to the IPL. It will help Lungi a lot more. KG is, I would expect, I don't know. It depends on the situation, what's best for them and what's best for the situation. And that needs to be discussed first. But the batting the side of things, when I look at Aiden and Rassie going, I don't think that's so bad for South African cricket right now, because we were talking about dropping them anyway. So maybe it is a perfect opportunity for giving them opportunity, others opportunity to play, and allowing them to go. But But to let KG, Andrich, and Lungi go, I don't know how that sits with me. That's our That's our three best bowlers in the country. That's our entire bowling attack. And Marco Janssen, sorry, forgot about him. And Marco Janssen. I mean, I would let Marco stay and tell that IPL contract to wait. You'll have plenty of time to get another IPL contract. In fact, there's plenty of time for him to get the IPL. He's only 19, 20, or 21 or whatever. So, like, there's certain situations. I think it depends on the situation. Ultimately,
It's it's such a tough one because I personally feel like Andrik Nokia he's going to the IPL. There's no question about it. He was retained by his franchise for a period of time. That's a relationship that he's got with the franchise, and I don't see him playing the series.
can we stop just on Nokia? It
Yeah,
makes sense. Nokia makes. See, if Nokia decides to go, I can understand. He's coming back from injury. T20 games, I think it's going to be a lot better for him to get back into the flow of things because I think we need him more for the England series. He needs to make sure that he's ready for the England when we tour England because we need him on fire. We already won 2 series without him. I think it's okay if Andy goes. Rabada, there lies a question mark over Rabada because I would prefer him playing Test cricket now than playing T20 cricket currently. Especially because we need him for England and need to grow momentum. On the flip side, it depends on which is going to fatigue him more, which is going to be more detrimental to him ultimately, as a cricketer and from a fatigue perspective, because we do need him for the next series. We need to win test matches, guys. So it's very important that our test players get looked after. So I think there can be a discussion point about KG Rabada. Andrich, I can understand. I think KG and Lungi are two important players for South Africa. Those are the two that I'm a little bit worried about. KG will most likely play IPL. I don't know how I will feel about the situation. It depends how they explain it to us. Once they explain the reasoning behind why people have left and people have stayed, etc.
yeah. Look, I think it's in an like I said at the beginning, right? In an ideal situation, you want your best players playing for your country, But unfortunately, the ideal situation doesn't exist. Um, with KG, I mean, look, if the IPL is all fun and games and it's happening only in Mumbai and Pune, then fatigue shouldn't be much of an issue, right? Because there's almost no travel at all. Um, in which case, it seems like the test series is probably going to be more tiring from a fitness point of view.
Yeah, but forget about that, Aditya, man. Doesn't KG make enough money? Like, I mean,
How
like,
can you tell? No, how
like, I
can you
mean,
tell
come on.
someone who's going to make 6 times the money in the IPL in a 6 week period? 6 times the money, 18 million rand. Most people wouldn't know how many zeros are there in that. You're asking a guy
Is
who
that how much he
has
makes, though? Is that how much he
he's
makes?
is that how,
How does the
he's going to it's going to be 18 million rand for him for the next 3 years per season. That's 54 million rand.
No, I
That
didn't
is
know it's
an
that amount of money.
insane amount of money, and he's going to make 9 million rand over the next 3 years if he continues at that same contract bracket for South Africa. That's a lot of money,
And
and
they
it's
only
it's very
do they
hard.
only get the full amount if they play all the games?
Well, it's so if I'm not mistaken, they get it in some 2 or 3 installments, 3 installments over the course of the season. Um, but yeah, and this is why I feel like
Ah, man,
uh,
Rabada must just go model in a jockey advert, and then you'll get that money back.
yeah, I don't think that's happening. Um, but
Endorsement
yeah,
deals.
it's too much, for a fast bowler to let go of. Yeah, I mean, he didn't when he had a smaller contract, like a significantly smaller contract, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019 when when Faf du Plessis and Otis Gibson asked him to rest and not to play the IPL.
Yeah.
And at that point, I could actually understand the logic of them not playing the IPL. Like Quinton de Kock and Faf played the final and they went straight into their camp for the World Cup. And KG obviously got injured, and we know all the drama. So at that point, I can sort of understand. But look, right now, it's very difficult. Um, it's very difficult to ask him to give that up and provide no sort of compensation. You know,
I still stand with my view. So there is a little bit of a question mark. I do believe that, like I said, each situation is different. And I feel like for Andrich, it might make a better sense for him to go. For KG, I feel there's still a little bit of a question mark. But for Marco Janssen, if we're going to lose KG and Andrich, I kind of feel that we do need Marco Janssen to play the way he's performed recently. We don't have any pace in the side otherwise. And
but look,
Lungingiri is going, and I feel
if
Lungingiri needs to stay.
if these
Because
players, let's
how many games is Lungingiri actually going to play? Because last season for the CSK, he played absolutely nothing just to sit there. He could have been playing you could be playing for South Africa.
but look again, I think if it is a question of asking players to stay back for the Bangladesh series, okay, and not play the IPL, then they shouldn't have signed up for the auction in the first place. What do you tell a potential owner that, okay, we can't play this year because
No,
there's the
but
Bangladesh series, so pick us in the next year?
the Bangladesh, when was the Bangladesh series actually
We,
confirmed?
we don't know the exact date. We knew that it was going to clash with the IPL. Like that was obvious even before we knew the exact dates of the Bangladesh series or the IPL.
But wasn't one of them the IPL was moved, wasn't it?
No. I mean, everyone knew that it was going to start March end, in the last week of March. Like everyone knew that, like before the two new teams were announced.
Okay.
So everyone knew that, and it was obvious. We had this conversation about the Bangladesh series and the IPL clashing like a long time ago. So I don't think that was ever in debate. But yeah, it's a tricky situation, right? And I feel like cricket South Africa is on a sticky wicket because there's probably some sort of a document where they've agreed to sign NOCs for players that have got IPL contracts. Therefore, if they prevent the players from going to the IPL, it's going to hurt the relationship with the BCCI. Okay, and it's a violation of whatever agreement that they had. That's number one. The second, so the only option that Cricket South Africa had was to
Give them
give
a
the players
choice.
a choice. Okay, so
Yeah, that
now
I can.
it's
Yo, can you even understand? I don't even like. I mean, Aditya, India will never be in this situation ever, unfortunately, until there's a league. Like, I think the only time that India will have this problem might be if the MSL gets to a level where we can afford to pay for Indian players, and there's a connection between the two countries because there was something like that happening on the cards before, and if we can
yeah.
regain that relationship with the MSL, and that it becomes a place where Indian players travel to and they need to choose. It will never be the ranks of IPL, the money. So, like, you'll never be in the situation where we are in as South Africans, where your player that you is representing your country is being forced to choose between his country and playing in the
But
IPL for money.
but the
Like, I
reason that
mean,
that choice
that's
is made, the
doesn't sit
reason that
well
that
with me.
but the reason that that choice has to be made is because the board is not well resourced enough to be able to compensate the players for it. Like Joe Root doesn't feel compelled to play the IPL. He feels like he's got enough money from the board and all his endorsements and various other contracts. Similarly, Mitchell Stark, fast bowler, he was fantastic at the IPL. Um, he hasn't played the IPL in seven
Yeah,
years.
it's definitely
And
money, but it's definitely
yeah,
because of CSI's money. Definitely.
yeah. So that's an option. But with certain players, for example, even with the money, look at Kevin Peterson, for example. Like he wanted to play the IPL because it would make him a better player, and it did. You look at players that play the IPL, and then you see the improvement in their games in all three formats. There is a difference. Virtually, Eben de Villiers will attest to that. Faf du Plessis will attest to that. Kevin Peterson, he's talked about it publicly as well. And there were times when he skipped the IPL. Owen Morgan recently, he talked about a conversation that he had with Andy Flower in 2013, where Andy Flower told him to skip the IPL and play county cricket to get his place back in the Test team. To which Owen Morgan said that I will learn more in 6 weeks of the IPL than 3 years of county cricket. So
Yeah,
no, thank you very much.
county I can understand, but not international cricket.
Yeah, I mean
Like I
that's
still think international cricket's level is higher than anything else. That's me personally. I still think it's the hardest form is international cricket. We can have this debate on another show, this one, because we probably differ on this one too. But
yeah.
I think that the situation is it depends on the situation. Of course, it's situational. If South Africa were clear with points on the top of the table and we were considered to be a good nation and we're doing well in the Test Championship and we didn't need our players, then by all means, let them go play IPL, make that money and come back when we need them in the bigger series against England. For me personally, I think every Test match counts and is important. The IPL also shouldn't have um, the IPL franchises, I mean, shouldn't have maybe gone for those test players. Maybe there were other options, South African wise, that were available to go for. But I mean, there were some players over here. If they knew that they had to choose, that's also a bit unfair from that point. But you can't expect that to be a criteria or variable in the situation because they're going to pick the best players that they have to offer and pay the money that they need. But and on the flip side, South African players should have not put their names in the hat if they knew that there was going to be a Bangladesh series happening as well. So that also once again, this matter should have been sorted out months ago, not now. Us scrambling around thinking, are they going to play? Are they not going to play? Once again, failure from CSA and whatever is happening over there on that side because that this isn't managed correctly again. Because now we're sitting with another situation where we're going to throw a whole lot of debutants in the deep end and expect them to win you a test match.
How do you feel about Dean Elgar's comment on the situation?
Where he said, "What is the full comment? Do you have it in front of you? Maybe there's parts that I missed on it."
In If I'm paraphrasing Dean Elgar, he basically said that that obviously players wouldn't want to miss out on a big occasion like the IPL, but I'd still like to think that playing for your country is bigger than that, something along those lines.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
But yeah, but I mean,
I hope that it is. I
it's,
hope that it is though. Like I hope that it means one season of IPL. And I know you saying
it
that it's
doesn't
going
work
to.
like that.
I know you're going to say yes. You chose your country over IPL. Now we're never going to pick you again. I don't think that they will do that either.
But that's how it works. Like if you,
But
you look at Jason Roy now, Jason Roy is he pulled out of the IPL. Did you hear about that?
hey, he pulled out of the
Jason,
IPL.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's the thing. Okay, wait, I'll tell you about Dean Elgar's situation first. My problem with Dean Elgar commenting on that situation is that it's put players with the IPL contracts who've, by the way, been picked in an auction. They didn't go looking out for teams; they got picked in an auction, and now they're in a tough spot because they're going to be in a fix on both sides of um, of the equation. Where assuming they choose to go, then I don't know how the team's going to feel about it. How Elgar's going to feel about it. Whereas on the other hand, probably giving up on money and possibly straining relationships with the franchise. So here's like I feel whatever decision the players make, I feel bad for them because they shouldn't have to choose. They put their names in an auction and they got picked. It's not their fault. Now, as for Jason Roy, he put his hat in the ring and he got picked by the Gujarat Titans as an opener. And just a couple of weeks ago, a week or two ago, he pulled out citing bubble fatigue, saying that he wants to spend time with his family. And obviously, there isn't a massive public uproar about it, but there is a conversation being had that Jason Roy knew that the IPL is going to be 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, he chose to play the PSL before that. Okay, and he's obviously been playing for England, he should always, uh, which he should always play for. But then he shouldn't have put his hat in the ring for the auction if he knew that bubble fatigue uh, was going to be a challenge for him. So
Yeah, but I
now,
mean,
if in the
but
future,
that's different because I mean, like you don't
but
know that you're gonna feel
but
that way closer to the time.
you know that
Like,
it's an 8 week tournament, it's going
yeah,
to be
you
a tough.
know, but my point is that you don't know how you're gonna feel from the previous series that you played before. How if you're gonna feel fatigued by the time you get there. Do you understand what I mean? Like you might have gotten to a point a couple of weeks ago
Fair
because you
enough.
put your name in the hat so long ago. Like the IPL asked you to put your name in the hat far in advance before the time,
I
and
mean, the
and
auction
by the
happened
and
now,
by
recently.
yeah, but your name is in the hat way before the time.
You know the schedule, man. Like, you know what your international schedule is. You know when the IPL is going to happen. You know how much time you're going to spend in a bubble, and they've been doing that for the last 2 years. So now, no fault of Jason Roy. I feel complete compassion for him. But this is the conversation that the IPL is having because now Gujarat Titans,
But
their
how many
auction
times?
strategy. Look, the auction strategy revolved around finding an explosive opener for to play with Shubman Gill. Okay, they got Jason Roy, they filled that slot. Now, all the other ones that they had on their list have been taken up by other franchises. So they have to look elsewhere. So the franchise is going to be like, we're left in the lurch here because that's going to hinder our chances of winning the tournament. So these so
It doesn't
these
matter.
are
I don't care.
these are complicated dynamics, mate.
Yeah, but not to me. But that's just maybe me. Like, if I was in the same situation, I mean, I've been in situations before where I could have picked money over over being patriotic. I've been in a situation like that before, and I chose patriotism. Simple as that. Like that's just who I am, and it was a good deal. And no, and it's just who I am. Maybe that's just who I am personally. Like I don't care, um, because I feel that being patriotic to your country, it's that comes first, man. Like I think Test cricket is the rest of the stuff is supposed to be side shows to me. The CPL, the Bangladesh, BPL, even the MSL. That's all side shows to me. I will. I don't understand how a player can prioritize playing in T20 competitions or franchise things like that over playing for the country. Like it doesn't make sense to me logically. Like unfortunately, that's just who I am. And like the same thing with the Kolpak. I wouldn't be. I don't feel that me personally I would be teased by a Kolpak player. I would rather fight and dominate to try and play for my country because to feel a lot more that achievement of getting that and being representing your country should be the proudest moment that you've ever felt in your life. And that's how it should be. And once you get your spot, I feel there should be some sort of appreciation for that spot. To say, like, all the years of sacrifice, there are hundreds of people going for the same, well, not 100 people, but so many people going for the same position. That is, that is like, and you're choosing to go play for extra money. Like, I don't think a guy like Akhiso Rabada will not get picked at the IPL again. Like how many times has that actually happened when players have been iced out of the IPL completely and never played again? when they've chosen to play for their country. Is that specific incident where a player is pulled out of the IPL, gone to play for their country because it's an important series for their country. How many of them were actually axed or iced out of playing in the IPL ever again?
Chris Gale went unsold in 2011 because he wouldn't have been available for the entire tournament. Ultimately,
Yeah, but
he got selected mid tournament as a replacement player. He got selected as a replacement player. That was a half a season contract. And after that, because he performed, the following year he was available for the entire tournament. And that's
and he
why
got
he
picked.
kept getting picked.
Yeah, but
So
that's
these things matter.
but that,
Like Shakib Al Hassan, he is hot commodity in the IPL. He went unsold this year because, and it's not because they have the IPL as an extra grind with Shakib Al Hassan. It's a consideration of the amount of money you spend on that player and the availability for the franchise. Because the franchise is looking to play a tournament. This is not fun and games for them. Look,
yeah, but I
it's like
don't think
someone
one
is
player is not going to
playing
make a difference to them.
someone is paying $1 million for you. If you pay $1 million to someone, you want your money's worth, man. Like that's the way the world works.
I
So
get that, but if he
you
leaves
want something.
and they replace him, then they get their money's worth anyway.
Yeah, but
But
it
you
doesn't
you
work
you
like that.
just said you just said earlier on that it doesn't matter if KG. It's not a loss for the IPL if he leaves. So
Yes,
if
it's
it's not a
not.
loss,
But
if it's not, then
at
he must
this
leave.
but at this
Like if
stage,
it's not, then leave.
at this stage of the IPL, given that the IPL is what, like 20 days away, at this stage of the IPL, it makes a difference because the teams are starting to make their plans. They want to win the tournament, and you've got a player of KG's quality who has committed to playing the IPL.
Still,
So
pick your country, KG. I will still say it. Because me and DJ will lock heads on this one. I think we're going to move
I
on this
mean,
one. And yet I still love this dude, and yet we're still gonna remain friends after this. And that's what ultimately I still think pick your country. It's just me. Unless there's a situation like with Markram and Rassi right now, currently. Maybe it's better for them. For the country's sake, it might be better for them to play IPL. Get them
see, it
for
doesn't
going.
work like that. It doesn't work
It
like
does
that.
work
The
like
IP,
that. But it
not at
can
all.
work both ways. It works
Not
both
at all.
ways. How
So
does the
it's
IPL know? How does the IPL know that Aiden and Rassi is thinking, yeah, oh, this is a good opportunity for me to make some money, and
I
also a good
mean,
opportunity for me to get some form. Let me go play. It's not like they're gonna communicate that with their franchise.
no, of course not. But then that's hypocrisy
It's,
because IPL is
it's
all
not
fun and
hypocrisy.
games. Yes,
It
of course it
is,
is.
but that's what the IPL is. It is all fun and games.
No, it's not fun and
Ultimately,
games at all.
the
See,
IPL was created. The IPL, to me, in my eyes, was created especially for entertainment, to bring a global scale game together and to make money. Of course, it was supposed to be the Champions League of cricket. Ultimately, like what the Super League is, what the Super League was supposed to be. Ultimately, bringing all the best players and the best teams together to play against each other. The IPL is supposed to be fun and games. That's what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be a good time for a couple of to get some to play some cricket, enjoy yourself, and to be free flowing. That's why I feel that international players do well in the IPL, because that pressure of letting down your country is not there. It's not the same. Like the pressure is not the same. IPL, and for Indian players, it's different because
ask
IPL
any
represents your
overseas
country.
player. Aiden Markram said on this very
They
show,
they never going
Aiden
to.
Markram, he said on this very show that the IPL has additional pressure for overseas players because they're expected to perform a lot more. You ask Abid de Villiers that. You ask
Yes,
Faf de
but
Silas,
no,
any
he
of
didn't
these
come.
guys.
Yes, he did say that. Additional pressure to the situation. Yes, it does add additional pressure, maybe to someone else, right? But I don't think it puts it's addition. He will never understand what it feels like to be an Indian person playing in the IPL. He'll never, no matter what he says, no matter who he speaks to, he will never understand what it's like to be Indian and to play in the IPL. Because for an Indian player, the IPL means so much more. So because you're losing money for people that live in your country. Because for me, it's a completely different story. If you're an Indian player and you are an international player playing, and I know you would say that. Of course, you would say that because
It's
yes, in theory, it's true. Because you coming in here and you need to hit the ground running and you need to score runs and it's only one spot available or a couple of spots available for you in the team. Yes, but if you sit on the bench, it's not going to be such a train smash for you. You still are going to make your money. It's not like you're not.
it's a different situation for the Indian players because they play a higher volume of cricket per year, and ultimately, in our selection scenario, the IPL is not. It's very clear with the selectors that the IPL will not inform test selection. The IPL may inform ODI selection, but it won't necessarily inform ODI selection. But the IPL will only inform T20 international selection. That is clear, absolutely clear. No IPL performances are going to get you into the test side. It's only Ranji Trophy that's going to do that. And I'll give you the example of a player, Sarfaraz Khan. Okay, he's been in and out of the IPL for the last like 5, 6, 7 years. In the last 12 innings in the Ranji Trophy, he scored 1,471 runs, 12 innings, 5 centuries, 2 double centuries, 1 triple century. And he still can't get into the test side. And he
Yeah,
may
but
play a game or two in the IPL. So
like I
it's
always say,
it's a totally
it's
different situation.
it's a difference exactly. But that's
Like
that.
it's a yeah.
To swing it back to South Africa, it is. So for me personally, and I'm still going to stick to my guns on that. Nothing should be bigger than play. If the IPL, if there wasn't so much money in the IPL, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. If the IPL was as big as the MSL, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. It's because of the amount of money that's in the IPL. That's why we're having this conversation. Otherwise, it wouldn't even be a second choice, a second thought
But the
to go
reason
and
that
play
there
for your
is
country.
money in the IPL is because there is player interest and there's public interest and there's global interest. There's a reason that 2,000 players from across the world want to register for the auction. There's
Yeah,
a reason for it.
because the IPL and the BCCI can afford to play all these people to play a lot of money to play, and the sponsors involved and the numbers, and of course, I'm not diminishing what the IPL is from a tournament perspective. It's the biggest, best tournament in the world currently. I feel, and from a cricket perspective. But it's not bigger than playing for South Africa. I'm sorry. No, I will never ever step down. I don't care how much money you make in the IPL. To me, the value here is your country and the IPL is here. Like, and then the rest of the tournaments come below. But to me personally, nothing is bigger than playing for your country. Personally, that's how I always will feel. So unfortunately, I have to accept it with footballers all the time because it's getting like that currently. With footballers, there's nothing bigger than playing for your club. There was a many Manchester United players in the past that gave up playing for their country just because they're playing for the club. Or there's players that have done that in the past, where I feel that's wrong. I don't care. Like, you play for your country. Representing your country. You're not only playing for yourself. You're representing the 60 million people over here. You're representing the 60% of poverty that is over here that's trying to look for a way out. That's what you're playing for. It's worth more than what it's worth than monetary value. No millions can pay for that value. That's inconceivable value. That's value that it's intangible. You can't touch that value. Like, that's what it means to me to represent your country. I don't know. Maybe that's just me personally with regards to South Africa, and that's how I feel. But unfortunately, that's the situation we're currently in. I mean, I won't ever like say I'm done with you because you've made this decision. Like, I always look at the situation individually, And I look everything on merit, and I'll look at every situation that comes to me in the future. I will look at it on merit. Um, so yeah, if it makes sense, then do it. But patriotism to me is everything. Unfortunately, I would want them to pick. I would. That's what I would like them to do. If they don't, I won't hate them for it. And I don't think anybody out there should go on a whole tangent and go crazy and say, "Oh no, these players are crap and they should be fired and they should never play for South Africa again." Please don't go on a whole craze like that. Look at it individually and don't paint everybody with the same brush. Um, but yeah, it's a crap situation the CSA find themselves in. But with regards to patriotism, ah, country first always, no matter what happens. Aditya, final thoughts.
Um, well, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, I guess South African players can make the decision that they want to make, and irrespective of what they choose, I hope that they're not like vilified or anything, because ultimately it's a personal decision, and the board has allowed them to choose. So yeah, I wouldn't want players to be vilified. So I think we go back to where we started from, um, which was the article that I put out on the website today. Is that it's a difficult situation to be in, particularly for the players. Uh, but uh, what I don't want is for players who have been picked in an auction to play in the IPL to suffer the ramifications of a choice that they make. Either way,
True. Yeah. So we're dealing with a situation here that's obviously you need to look at individually. Um, uh, Either way, they should be respected for their decisions. And that's what it is. Let's look at some of the comment section. I don't know if there was any major things happening, but there was loads of comments happening. Um, um, Playing for your country is a privilege.
I
Um,
completely agree with you. Sorry, and let me just state right at the beginning of this show, I said that in an ideal situation, you want your best players to be playing for your country.
mm,
Okay, so in this country versus club debate, somehow it feels like I'm on the side of the IPL or anything, but I said to Khalid specifically that you want your best
yeah,
players to be playing for your country.
yes. And I'm not look at me and teacher. We're not fighting. You guys might come across as that. We're not fighting. We're just debating the topic here.
Yes, someone just
So
called it Russia versus Ukraine. So I don't know who's which.
I don't know who's which here, but don't make jokes about that, guys. Patriotism won't put food on the table, guys. Okay, look here. Playing for your country will put plenty of food on your table, all the best food on your table. Might not put a Porsche in your garage, but it probably will put a Porsche in your garage. To be fair, it might not put a wait. It might not get you into VIP at Vanity Fair, but it will get you food and put a nice car in your garage, etc. If Dean
But
Elgar can survive being playing only Test cricket for his whole almost entire career before he was captain, I mean, if he can survive, then I'm sure these other players that play 3 formats can survive.
but let's also not say that assuming these people choose the IPL that they're not patriotic. You know, it doesn't work that way. Like let's not call the
That's why I said it
players.
depends on what they say. It depends on the
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. Let's not call the players who choose who probably may not choose to play Bangladesh to be like non-patriotic or whatever.
Keith, last I saw Sachin has more value than IPL superstars. I believe it's because of his performances for his country.
I mean, a good question to ask would be when did the IPL start? It was 2008. Sachin started his career 20 years prior. So, look, for an Indian player, uh, and Virat Kohli talked about this recently. For an Indian player, they're going to make as much and perhaps more money playing for their country. But that's the dynamic of that's the dynamic of Indian cricket. The structure of Indian cricket is like that. Um, but I don't know what you mean by value. Like, do you mean like bank balance? I mean, Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni are comparable. I mean, they'll get to Sachin's point and more. Like, Virat Kohli earns like 1 crore a day. So, like one Instagram, like on average, like one Instagram post that
Yeah.
Virat Kohli sends out earns him 5 crores. So,
Like the money is ridiculous. The amount of money, like
yeah.
they won't be. I bet you that Virat Kohli, the amount of money he has, like I'm pretty sure he won't be able to spend all that money until the day after his last day.
But
Like
look,
the amount of
in
money he will
his
be earning until he dies. Like flip it out.
But look, in his defense, like Virat Kohli, he is as much of a philanthropist as any cricketer I've seen, and he's contributed to a lot of like Faf du Plessis causes that he does for Hillsong Africa. So uh, yeah, he's quite generous with his time and money.
Okay, we've got Dishan saying IPL should not take precedence over any international cricket that will kill cricket. And that's what I agree. Like I have an opinion about the IPL having an influence on towards killing the game in one aspect, but also keeping the game alive to another aspect. So it's like it's a difficult situation because it can prolong the game, but it can also be killing one aspect of the game too. Personally, that's what I think. IPL isn't the biggest league in the world. Calm down, gents. You can't exclude the best T20 players in the world, Pakistan players, and say it's the best. That's a decent point to make. Um,
It's I mean that's a political argument that has nothing to do with the league in itself. Like they're not allowed to. They'd love to have Pakistani players, but they can't. They're not allowed to do that. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. And
yeah,
by that measure, like the PSL doesn't have Indian players either. So
I wasn't even gonna let you answer it. I was just gonna move on. It's just a this was just more of a statement. Um, is there anything else, guys? Anything else you want to say? BCCI, ICC wanted the same thing. Wow. Major statements being made. Quality.
it's not actually. It's not actually.
We can have so many. I think, guys, we must have just one day where you guys say things like to a teacher. A teacher just debunks all of the things that you say.
No, the BCCI ICC thing, for example, um, when Shashank Manohar was president of the ICC, he took the BCCI to task, and the current revenue model, which is a significant slash of ICC revenue to the BCCI, is a product of Shashank Manohar's stern words to the BCCI, and he's obviously Indian, so it's not exactly the same thing. But yeah, I mean, given that the BCCI generates as much money as it does, um, they do have a seat at the table. So
But guys, anyway, let's leave that here. We haven't come to a conclusion of what we believe. A teacher made some great points. I made some great points. Somewhere there in the middle, find your answer. And
ultimately, it's up to the players. I don't think they care about anything that
exactly,
we said right now.
exactly. They don't care about what we said right now. They're going to still do what they decided to do. So, good luck, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for coming to the show. Welcome to the show, guys. Whoa, it's been an hour, but thanks a lot for coming to the show. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Click that notification bell for all future videos. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link's on the screen as well as in the description. As I said already, I want you guys to smash that like button. It really helps us a lot. So go ahead and like it right away. And become a Patreon too. All the links are in the description as well. It will really help us prosper and get better and better and improve our shows going forward. So please become a part of the family. You also get exclusive access to our private WhatsApp group that can only be shared amongst patrons. So, and you guys can talk to other patrons as well as myself and other guys too. So, guys, get involved with that. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the evening.